you know that the pet industry in the United States is expected to reach over $99 billion by 2026, according to Grandview Research? Today, we're diving into the world of pet care entrepreneurship with a special guest, Tony Caruso, owner of 6 Camp Bow Wow franchise locations. Tony's journey in the pet care industry all began in 2007 when his Hungarian Vizsla, Abby, ignited his passion for dogs and drove his entrepreneurial spirit to invest in a Camp Bow Wow franchise in St. Clair Shores, Michigan. As Tony worked to grow his business to 6 locations in Michigan and Missouri, his personal pack also expanded to include his wife, Jamie, their daughter, Ella, and their son, Enzo. With a passion for animals and a dedication to fostering the bond between pets and their owners, Tony and his wife, Jamie, have been actively involved in their local communities, from hosting charity fundraisers, organizing bite prevention readings, to supporting the Bow Wow Buddies Foundation and local rescue groups. Tony and his family are committed to making a difference. Outside of Camp Bow Wow, Tony enjoys cheering on the Detroit Lions, watching Detroit Tigers games, watching Kansas City Royals baseball games, and hitting the golf course for a round of golf. Join us as we explore Tony's journey in the pet care industry, his commitment to dog well-being, and his passion for fostering connections between pets and their owners on the Spark and Ignite Your Marketing podcast. Welcome.
Hi, Beverly.
Let's talk a little bit and discover the sparks that ignited your unique opportunities along with your entrepreneurial path. So can you share a little bit about your journey into entrepreneurship and how it all started for you?
For me, it's probably, I'm sure every entrepreneur goes back and says it was not maybe an unorthodox way of getting there. I enjoyed people. And I had a previous job for 10 years where it reminded me of Friends or something, where everybody hung out afterwards and we all were friends and we worked at the same company for a long time. And what ended up happening is all of a sudden I got to be like in my late 20s and I realized that I wasn't necessarily satisfied. The company that I had worked for had a shift in sort of their business, and I was a computer leasing company, and the arm of the business did the hardware, computer software for Fortune 1000 companies. I recognized that I was out of 300 people. My team was like in the final stages. There all of a sudden were 16 people left. I saw a warehouse, 100,000 square feet, go down to empty tables and crickets.
Oh, geez.
I got Fridays off. I made more bonus money, and here I am, like, depressed. I get a little bit more money opportunity, more flexible scheduling, and I'm not motivated to get up in the morning. And they hit me. It's you're trying to chase the money, you're trying to chase the time off. But really it's just about what's the next thing that's a challenge that I know I can improve upon. And learning that experience was big for me because I knew it was all coming to an end. No matter how good we did, that company was phasing out. And so for me, it was a needed thing for me to say, I think I'm burnt out in the corporate world and I don't know what I'm going to do. And so I didn't have a plan. I didn't go out and exhaustively like search for something, but I did get a dog, and I was single again and didn't have really the appropriate time, but I wanted a dog, and I got everything. And so she's changed the world for me in a sense because I knew I needed her to be cared for. And when I used services, I recognized that there was a Camp Bow Wow, which was very young franchise at the time, like a mile from where I worked. And the person that opened it used to work at the same company, like all the stars aligned. And so I was able to take her to lunch, and I'll never forget. I just looked at her and she was like, this is the best thing we've ever done. And I brought my dog there and and so it was really like something really got to me that says, I want this so bad. I don't know how to get it, but I want what this is. And so I just said, let's do it. And that's how it started.
So it's interesting to me because I was an accidental entrepreneur. I wasn't intentional about starting a business. I didn't grow up saying, I'm going to own my own company. And it's nice to hear other people fell into the business. Like the stars aligned for me too, but it's nice to hear other people were like, it was more of a, I need to do something. What am I going to do? And then finding the passion that really meant something to you.
Yeah.
That sparked it. What drives your passion for the dogs? And then I think specifically for well-adjusted dogs, because I think that's something that you talk about all the time. To be fair, in a full disclosure here, Tony is a customer of ours, of BC and Associates Marketing. We've worked together for almost 12 years.
Yeah.
That's crazy. So we are a part of your brand in many ways, which is wonderful. I'm so grateful to be on this journey with you. But I know that's something that you talk about all the time is that the dogs need to be mentally stimulated. They need to be exposed to different things to be well adjusted. Talk about what drives your passion for that. Why is that important?
Yeah, it's an interesting question. I think I don't see it as much of a passion as I see it as a relationship that I see happen between the pet parent and the dog when they find an outlet that allows for that dog to express themselves and gain social skills and so forth. And so it's much more the quality of life I see it happens with dogs that have a consistent outlet somewhere, whether it be a daycare center, but we get to obviously control our camps and get to see what playing does in a controlled way, and certainly what a dog's sensory experience and putting their thought process activities together, and really how that is healthy for the dog. So when I see that dynamic, really with that, I guess that added outlet for the parent, because we're all weird dog parents and I love it. Right. So when I'm on vacation, not to sound terrible, but I miss my dog more than anybody else there, because you walk home and they're excited to see you and they didn't ask what you got them, and you just love your dog. And there's just a special bond between people and dogs. And that to me is the motivation, that I get to see that relationship and then be a part of that sort of that network with them and trusted person to be a part of it.
Talk a little bit about what Camp Bow Wow is and what you actually do at camp. What is a normal day at camp?
Camp is, as it sounds, we try to make it fun and campy. So when you come to any Camp Bow Wow, you're going to get a lodgy kind of fun look. But ideally, the idea behind Camp Bow Wow happened to why don't we have dogs walk with dogs? We know there's going to be risk to that, but we know that confined dogs create stress in the traditional old school kennel environment. So that shift from Heidi Ganahl, she was forward thinking and saw this and said, wait a minute, cameras are becoming more of a thing. And what if we could actually show the parents how fun the dogs are having, maybe similar to a daycare? And so that spawned the idea of let's allowing a dog to be a dog, so to speak. And that was the origin of thought behind camp. Let's let these guys have fun while you're vacationing instead of be confined and create separation anxiety. And so as we've progressed over the years, what we've done is add structure and enrichment into that fold. And an average day of camp is going to be, the dogs are going to be socially integrated, supervised by size and temperament, transparent to the open parents watching. And in the middle of the day in our facilities, we do these activities and customers can buy into them. They're real creative. Your team does a great job making it even more fun for the parent, but on the dog side, they really enjoy it. And then they do the same thing in the second half of the day. We're open 7 days a week, 365 days a year. So whether it's Christmas Day or any other Wednesday, that dog has the same fun camp experience of a structured day. And that's camp life.
So how do you think camp is so fun? I wish I could be a dog, right? Like the things they do are some really fun things. They have taste testings, they watch movies, they get to snuggle, they get to play ball, they get to ball pits, they have sprinklers. There's like all kinds of activities for the dog. I always joke that with my 8-year-old that I want to go to camp again. Like it's seriously like we did not enjoy camp enough as kids. Like I think it is, but it's super fun to watch the dogs really have a great time and be mentally stimulated. What are some key lessons that you've learned since you've actually opened and as camp has evolved? Because it's really truly evolved from 12 years ago when we first started working together. What are some lessons and trends that you're seeing in the pet industry that are happening?
It's an interesting time. I think you mentioned something in your bio there that 99 billion is expected by 2026. And when I looked at this in the beginning, 2005, 34 billion. Now I'm like, 33 billion was like video games, music. At that time, I was blown away. And we hold a very small, maybe between 6 and 10%. We're in the little hospitality side of all that spending, which most of it's health, vet care, pet supplies, and such. Well, the growth is there. So the trends that I'm seeing, I really believe there is a more thought behind the emotional side of dogs and truly treating them as part of a family member. And the beautiful thing about that is that you're seeing a lot more establishments that are really thinking from a dog first perspective in this way. And so there's a lot of great mom and pops as well as other franchises that sort of are jumping into this the right way. And I see more families being okay with it. When I first opened, I would just catch the husband on the phone and saying, I'm picking up my dog from doggy daycare. And I could just hear on the other side, what's the matter with you? But now
It's normalized now, right?
it's
Everybody
normalized. Well, I think the trend for me is really in the positive way of understanding that the dogs really do need attention. The way that they're set up and their emotional state matters, whether it's in the vet world or the dog daycare world where we live. I see that trend and I see our competition growing, which I think is a wonderful thing. I think it's growing the right way.
So give us an example of a dog came initially to you and you saw them really transform and become a more socialized, happy, adjusted dog by attending camp. Do you have an example of that, a story about that?
It's not one sticks out in particular, but I would say where I probably saw the most of this was when we worked, because I met Corinne at the Grossman Animal Adoption Society before I even opened. I'm like, this is what happened. Heidi was very pro philanthropic and gave us these ideas. Hey, we should be doing our part. And so we did. I did something called Wolf Stock before I even opened. And I remember at the time it was so hard for me to get any gifts because I didn't know anybody in the community and I was yet to be a starting business owner. But that relationship start allowed for dogs that didn't have families, that were in the middle of trying to find the right forever family. And so I would see these dogs that were not necessarily socialized. And it was pretty interesting when you would see over a period of controlled time, them come out of their shell and then go to the right family. And it was, to me, that was something that sticks with me. Now, you can only do so much of those things because you're a for-profit business and we did a lot of that early on. But I can say that there are plenty of times that I see pet parents that don't know anything and they think they need dog training and they don't know what to do. And when we bring them into the camp program, they become friends for life because we've answered something they didn't know that they needed, which was that outlet of social skills and that outlet of mental stimulation and or that improved behaviors. That's never changed. That stayed the same. It's just, I think it's more people now broke out of her shell after day 4 and totally became this amazing dog. And we were able to control that. Anyways, I said, that if we find a name to foster, that means they're going to still show the dog. And after a week, she's, no, I need to keep Bella. So, well, they call that foster failures.
Quirky Dalmatian named Cora. Is quirky the right word?
Well, socially awkward.
She smiles, which is adorable. Like her whole teeth and everything. It's adorable. Now let's delve into what helped him ignite his marketing and business success. So you started off with one camp. Did you always want to have 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 locations? Is that something that was always in your mind?
No, it's funny because I always lived day by day. Everything was coming so fast. I didn't necessarily have what you should do is plot out your exit plan first and work backwards. I've learned that over becoming an entrepreneur. So no, I just was like, this is awesome. And I just love what I'm doing. And so I was learning. I remember the beginning, I went for what they call discovery days and I brought my father and sat down and I was the only one that didn't have a suit on, number one, nor did I have the contract or highlighters. And I'm like, oh man, did I miss something? But I was there just to feel, how did I like what I saw and who I met? And I love the family and I love the concept and I love what I saw. And I figured, I think there's something called an attorney and an accountant. I read that somewhere. They'll look at that for me and I'll talk to them. It's interesting because looking back on it now, I probably was by far the most passionate for the reasoning with doing it first versus just looking at that number that got me excited. If I remember, nobody else really followed through with it. I was out of that group of 12, the only one that did it. So looking back at it and saying, to your point, if passion is there, you can go a lot of different places. And when you match passion with experience, then you can multiply or be dangerous. It took me a while for that second part to happen.
Not very long though. It happened pretty quickly once it started. And we talk about spark and ignite. Once it ignited, watch out.
Then it became easier. Yes. Yeah. The first difficult one. And again, it's who you meet and who you partner with. And so obviously Jamie became part of the company when we met. And the funny thing is, I'll probably embarrass her on this. She's afraid of dogs. And as day one, we came in, she didn't know what the heck was going on, but she absolutely loves it now.
You turned her around entirely.
Totally. The next podcast will be how does couples work together and stay alive? Not,
Over the years,
but she really,
yes, indeed.
exactly. We're not on 60 minutes. It worked. But I think her involvement really was complementary. We have different skill sets by far. And then when we work together, we start building teams that work and some that don't work. And when we connected with the first company that didn't work, then we connected with you doing a similar thing, and that worked. And when you put all of our pieces together, working on the same plan, our first expansion was buying a failing franchise in a different state. And that was something totally new again. It was almost like starting over. It's, I don't know the area, I don't know the community, but I could do the math and I understand the trends better. I could feel confident about what I can do. And that experience gave us the confidence to say, we could probably do this one again. So then it became a fun experience to say, what is it? Why is it that a facility or a business doesn't work? And we found that if we could learn anything and build on what we learned, and we can keep doing it. And we've done it so far. We have 6, and knock on wood, we've done okay.
One thing that I think has been really powerful for me to be along on the journey with you is scalability isn't always adding another location. Scalability is perfecting customer service. It's perfecting your operations. It's perfecting your training. It's getting better and really solidifying different parts of your business as you grow. So what has that been like? So scaling at locations, one thing, but actually scaling within your business to really, because I think right now you've got an excellent customer service process. You've got operations really working well. So what is that process? Because it's like you got big, and then how do I make all this work together? Everything has to be working the same, almost like McDonald's. It has to be the same experience no matter where you go.
For sure. And this business makes, in my opinion, that even more difficult because there's emotion that gets in the way of logic, right? So I always would say, if I had this production line that I knew I had to have this part and then this part would go here, and now I needed to do it in this amount of time, and your emotion is not part of that. But with dogs, it is emotion. And so are we the best fit for this particular dog? Do I do what the pet parent wants, even though it puts a stress on operations? That becomes hard because you may see 60 to 70 to 80 new dogs every month in one camp. And so now you have myself, but I probably can't see anything that a Vizsla does wrong. And many people can't see anything that a Staffy does wrong. And maybe some people just can't stand a certain breed and everything they do is annoying. And to manage through that part, I think you have to have a good, clean process and system to do it, with a good, clean understanding of what a position is and what your job is. And that's something we're still aspiring to get better and better at. We've learned a lot because when you can't be somewhere and you can't do it yourself, you have to have something that can be repeatable. And then you have to keep looking at it because everything keeps changing all the time. Allowed us to get to you and put in a video or content that spells out through our social media outlets that tells a story. I think that's very attractive. I feel like that is, while it's not a tangible tracking thing, I know it's a branding thing that has really stepped our game up through that creative ability to get that content out in a fun way. Yeah.
I think what I do, and I think most pet parents do, is we humanize our animals all the time.
Well,
If my mom's Chihuahua could speak, he would swear and he would sound like Joe Pesci. I've always tried to take that and how do we use that for marketing? And plus, dogs and kids, marketing gold, Tony. It's easy for us to put up cute pictures of dogs, and working with your amazing team to help get those assets has been a fun process as well. Dogs are just adorable. It's an easy thing to make a story out of. But storytelling is huge and part of your branding. And I think it's probably the most fun because it's the most real of it all. It's not contrived. It's not really authentic stuff. Okay. So I'm going to lead us into the lightning round, which is a storm of rapid fire questions. There's just 7, Tony. Are you ready? Okay. What is your favorite way to connect and network with other entrepreneurs?
I love to golf. So I think that's probably one of my favorite outlets there, is to get to know people and entrepreneurs on the golf course.
What is your favorite business or marketing book about these things from?
I think it's what I've learned. I started with Quick Rich Dad Poor Dad with Robert Kiyosaki as my
Mhm.
first business book in college. And I feel like it's the next book is the best one. Leaders Eat Last is one that I'm just about finished with. Throughout COVID, the E-Myth Revisited and Profit,
Mhm.
all of those have had a big influence on the way I approach things with my business. Giving one is probably the one I'm currently reading. I'd give you that
That's how
one.
I feel. I feel the same way. Do you listen to podcasts? And if so, what is your favorite podcast?
I guess I need to get into this podcast world. I hate to even say this out loud, but I'm roped in because Jamie's watching the Kelseys on their podcast because of all the Taylor Swift hoopla. But my friend that is a business owner has been on podcasts and I've seen them. I haven't religiously watched one. I will now that I know you will probably look at that more, but I don't have one currently.
I love to listen to them on road trips. Yeah. So if
Yes.
you're going to Grand Rapids or something, like to pop it in is like a nice, like on my iTunes, I'll just stream it to my car.
I guess I'm just naturally listening to sports podcasts without even knowing it all the time on my driver.
The Kelseys have a very entertaining podcast. I do listen and watch to that one as well. What is your favorite business tool or app that you have to have handy and use all the time?
To me, with our business, I think we've probably gotten so much use out of like Google Docs, Asana, something that I was able to link to my phone and computer so that it's cloud based. I can jump on anything really quickly and have quick access. So those are two programs that we've used for quite a while with success. Asana is the project management. Google Docs is cloud based program of saving things.
What's your favorite marketing tactic?
It's just using you. But I feel like what I get a lot out of in marketing is helping others, I think. And I never thought of that as marketing, but when you help, and you've taught me this in many ways, is when you like are able to help somebody else's business, they want you to do well as a reciprocation of it. And who doesn't like helping other people? So I feel like just always being available and around to be involved in helping, to me, I consider that a grassroots old school marketing tactic that I like.
What's your favorite source of inspiration?
For me, it's what others that I see do and they're humble about it. I'm inspired by that. And I have been lucky enough to meet many business owners. And whenever I see somebody that has done something that's amazing to me and they stay humble by it, that inspires me a lot. I think just some of the people that I've met along the way outside of the people you Google, I've been inspired by.
Who's your favorite entrepreneur to follow?
Cat Bow Wow was just recently adopted and by Propelled Brand. So I got to see Catherine Monson now. She's a fascinating, and I can't wait to get to meet her. But I love Shark Tank. I love following everybody on those kinds of shows. I don't have one overall, so to speak. I guess I just am enthralled by all of them.
That's great. Tony, this has been super fun. I love it. You survived the lightning round. We're going to shift gears and focus on a blaze forward moment. I want you to think about where you've come from, what you've done, your sparks, your unique opportunities, how you've ignited your business. We have a lot of other entrepreneurs or aspiring entrepreneurs. What is one easy step or what something that they can do if they're just starting out, something they can do today that could help them spark their unique opportunity or ignite their marketing?
I think to get moving on something to create momentum. I don't think it's one thing. I think it's a starting trigger that they'll start motivating off of. So I would say, and from my experience, it's the self development that you could get for very cheap by jumping on and doing audiobooks if you're on the treadmill. Listen, hear the message, spark something. I think if you're looking entrepreneurially, there's many of them out there. Jim Rohn's an author that I find very helpful. Dale Carnegie. I think that's my first step. I think you need to find that inspiration and passion first. And you can do so by learning and learning about other people's viewpoint and successes. That's helped me.
I think that's the whole purpose of this particular podcast for me, Tony, is really to help others learn from others. Like sometimes I'm certainly guilty of this. I've been in business for over 12 years now, and my business kind of became its own beast as opposed to me controlling its destiny in some way. And so either you get so busy, you get your head down in the weeds, you can't get up above the weeds, whatever the case is. By listening to others, reading, it forces you to look at your business in different ways.
Yeah.
And I really hope the podcast does that for people, helps them look at your business and other people's businesses, and it helps them see maybe I should try that or do this or read that book or do
Yeah.
something that helps them spark. Love that. It's perfect. So before we go, Tony, where can our listeners learn more about Camp Bow Wow? And I hear that you guys have a free day of play for new pups as well. Where can they find out information about you and Camp Bow Wow?
Thank you for asking that question. They can go to campbowwow.com. Whatever, we have different locations. So whatever city you're in, you can put your zip code or put the city name. That will get you to our website. You can jump and create an account online and upload your information. We'll call you, we'll have you in our system. And we look forward to those first day experiences. It's probably the most fun thing that we get to do. There's a little bit of qualifying in the front end, but it's a very fun experience. And we love that every day that we get to wake up is to see the new dogs that we get to meet.
You are in St. Clair Shores. You have 2 locations. You have your main camp and a little camp that's for smaller dogs specifically.
It's a very unique thing that we're test piloting for the Camp Bow Wow. And it's for us, it's worked out really well. So it's little dogs only, not to give everybody an equal chance, but if you're over 40 pounds, can't go with that one.
Then you have one in Brighton and you have one in Grand Rapids, all in
Cool.
Michigan. So 4 camps in Michigan. And then you have 2 in Springfield, Missouri. So last week this is a really important question. It was Kansas City Chiefs and the Detroit Lions in the championships. If they were going to go head to head, how would you be able to choose?
I'll say that the Lions that tore my heart out last week. I'm rooting for the Chiefs big time.
We waited 30 some years. We
had it. Well, it's fun now. They're exciting. They're, if we can get Campbell and those guys on podcasts, we can learn a lot from them. They built that thing.
For sure. I would agree. Thank you so much, Tony. This has been extremely fun and inspiring for me. We've had the pleasure of delving into the world of pet care entrepreneurship with Tony Caruso, owner of 6 Camp Bow Wow franchise locations. From sharing his journey with Abby, his beloved Vizsla, who ignited his passion for his business, to discussing his dedication to the importance of mental stimulation for dogs. Tony has provided valuable insights into pet care entrepreneurship. And as we wrap up, we want to thank you, Tony, for sharing your experience, wisdom, and passion with us. Remember to tune in next time for more inspiring stories and actionable strategies to spark and ignite your marketing journey. Until then, keep spreading joy, building connections, and unleashing your entrepreneurial spirit.